Welcome to the Sailing to Success podcast, the show created exclusively for entrepreneurs and small business owners looking for a safe port in the storm of fast-paced business growth. Lindsay Phillips is the founder of Smooth Sailing Online Support, a company dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and small business owners increase customer service, run their business more effectively, and increase their profits. Prepare to be inspired and learn some practical tips and strategies you can use in your business today. And now, welcome your host and captain for this 30-minute excursion, Lindsay Phillips.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sailing to Success podcast. I'm Lindsay Phillips. I'm your host and captain for this 30-minute excursion. And for those that know me, I really love to motivate and inspire people to achieve more. I love sharing practical tips and business building strategies so that all of you awesome entrepreneurs out there can be more productive, boost your profits, and of course, grow your business. And I'm really excited today to be talking to Julie Zuzek. Because she's just gotten an amazing approach and kind of covers things that a lot of people don't think about in the entrepreneurial world. She's best known for her edgy podcast, Conscious Business with the Corporate Yogi or Yoga. I'm not quite sure how to say that one. Julie is a highly sought after business coach and works with top entrepreneurs around the world. Recognizing her own entrepreneurial journey was an intense form of personal development for her. And Julie helps entrepreneurs conquer their fear, their limiting beliefs, to remove barriers in the way of success. And she's living proof that your business won't grow until you do. And her core values are freedom, risk, love, growth, and adventure. And I highly agree with everything she stands for. So welcome, Julie. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Oh, thanks, Lindsay. That's a great intro. I'm really excited to be here and talk to your listeners.
Yeah, and you know what resonates with me is because I live in a small town. And when I was starting my business, man, the amount of fear, and I remember the limiting beliefs, like who am I to grow a business when I'm living, small town girl. I got, mom of kids. It's like all that head trash. So what kind of limiting beliefs besides that one do people kind of have upon themselves, and how does that stand in their way for achieving success?
Yeah, good question. And I think every entrepreneur will confess that they've addressed it at some point in their life. But I think what you talk about, the imposter syndrome, is the most common that we see. And the thing with imposter syndrome is it's not just something that you get through as one single hurdle. Your challenges will always up level relative to your success. So you might be able to get through this hurdle to, say, launch your podcast. But then next year you might find yourself speaking or giving a keynote at a big conference. And so all of a sudden you have a new hurdle to go through.
Yeah.
So there's always something to work on. So that saboteur voice, those negative voices and judging you and, questioning your credibility, that's probably the most common one that I see. Yeah. There's also a lot of fear, failure, and fear of success. And so I think the fear of failure is something we're all familiar with and can relate to. But the fear of success is really, really important because that one is harder to identify. And it holds us back because we get scared that we're going to outgrow our family or our friend circle, or we're going to have so much success that we're going to be, on the front page of People, and we're not going to be able to go to a coffee shop without being recognized. And it sounds ridiculous, but once you start digging around into people's mindset, you really start to see what these fears are of the overwhelm of success and really being able to maintain it once you arrive.
So is it kind of like a preconceived idea of what you think success is and what it means?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. That's why I think it's important to, as an entrepreneur, get really clear on what success means to you. Because if you look at other people around you and you compare your life to theirs, obviously that's not going to sit well with you because that's not what you want to design. Right. And so it's up to you to create what you want and what your version of success feels like for you. Because I think so often we define it narrowly just as a large quantity of money, and success can come in so many different ways. And I think you mentioned you have children, right?
Yeah.
So for a lot of parents, success, dads and moms, success might mean to them being able to have a 3-day work week where they can spend more time with their kids, or finishing and wrapping up work at 3:00. Like that might feel like the, optimum success for them, so that they can really spend quality time with their kids.
That's so true. And I'm sure like with your clients, they all have totally different goals. And I know like a friend of mine up the road who's also an online business entrepreneur, she doesn't want staff underneath her. She doesn't want to grow. She loves what she does, and she's just happy doing that. Whereas for me, however, I want more.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's interesting how we all have different, ideas of success, I guess, or what we want.
Absolutely. Which is why comparing is so dangerous.
Totally.
You can look at other people that are doing something, and we get anxious, and we think, oh, well, I should be doing that too. Well, check in. You have a clear path of what you decided you want. So, don't get distracted by those shiny objects along the way and what other people's success are. So bless them for what they're doing.
Yeah.
And stay focused on what your goals are.
It's so hard to do that sometimes. Like, honestly. Yeah.
Especially if you social media or Facebook and you see what other people are doing a lot. Yeah, I agree. That can be overwhelming. Absolutely.
And especially when it is in your face all the time too. Yeah. And it's like, and I've told my kids this in different scenarios, but it's like, focus on yourself. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. So I should probably abide by that.
Right. Absolutely.
Now you say that, and I know you have a podcast on it, that use fear as your guide. What do you mean by that?
So, we often have a task that we're scared to do, or something that we feel resistance.
Yeah.
We are avoiding it, or we don't want to do it, or we're procrastinating on it. Those are often the juiciest things that should be green lights. Those are the things that we need to lean in and do, because, being an entrepreneur is the most intense form of personal development. And so rather than running a business and realizing there's all these ways that you have to grow that come along as road signs and opportunities along the way, I really challenge people to focus on the personal growth as, the main part of their business. So whatever opportunities that come that feel a little scary, those are absolutely the places to lean in and really focus on addressing those fears, because that's really what's going to make your business grow.
It's like you have to stretch, right? Like stretch your boundaries. I think one of my clients says, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, perfectly said. Because it never goes away, like to what I said before, right? Your challenge is always up level relative to your success. So you might get through something today, but guess what? Tomorrow brings something new to grow into. And so really, I like this notion of being dynamic rather than static. We're always changing. We're always growing. And so if you can get your mindset to, as we chat in the intro about, having a growth mindset and getting in that place where you accept challenges and opportunities as they come up, that will really make your journey a lot easier.
That is true. Yeah. So you just touched upon the growth mindset, which obviously helps you push through that fear and kind of get to what it is that you want. So what is a growth mindset? What does that mean?
Yeah. So I think it's really about being open to growing and learning and accepting challenges along the way, and recognizing it's not just about you, it's about your relationships. So we are not only growing in terms of who we are and what that self-understanding is, but we're also growing in terms of how we relate to others, the relationships we have at work and in our personal lives. We have relationships with our community, with our clients, our partners, our staff, our VAs, right? Our team members, whoever it is, we have those relationships. And that's such a tremendously important part that so few of us really put attention to. So we grow and have those greatest opportunities to learn from our relationships with others.
That's awesome. And yeah, sometimes you think, business and you're doing your thing and you have your relationships with your clients, but you also got to think about all those other relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think another really important part is not just accepting that challenges come in your way, but it's also being open to understanding who you are at a deeper level, and really having that humility to not believe that you know it all. I always love that saying, I'm not young enough to think I know it all, right?
Yep.
That ego, and we're conditioned when we're younger that we're striving towards a single static destination. And I think as we get there and we get older and mature, we start to realize that there is no such thing as a single destination. And boy, life would be boring if there was.
Totally.
Yeah.
So how do you help your clients kind of understand their fear and kind of get past that? What if one of our listeners is, has a stumbling block and wants to move forward with their business, but they're just stuck? What is some advice that you'd give?
Yeah, so we have a number of tools that we use in our toolkit that we pull out, and everybody responds to something different. So it really depends on that spectrum of how self-aware someone is.
Mm-hmm.
Often it's just kind of mirroring things back to them and slowing them down, getting them to be more mindful, recognizing the language that they use, and just kind of getting them to pause and say, okay, well, there's something here in terms of a limiting belief. And so, for example, like if someone is saying, well, there are no clients or no one's willing to pay X for my service, but a common one. And so, so we pause and I like to ask them, is that a fact or is that a belief? So if it's a fact, you have to be able to prove it to me. It has to be written in a dusty, book in a library. Like you have to have proof to tell me that that is a fact. And if it is a belief, then we deep dive into that and what is causing that and what is really going on. And then underneath that is usually another layer of fear of, not believing in your self-worth, not believing in your ability to deliver, being uncomfortable with accepting money. We just kind of keep peeling back those layers of an onion until we get to what is really at the heart of it all, and then shift the perspective to something new and more powerful. And so that can be taking the opposite perspective and feeling into that. It can be reaching for another area of their life where they feel like they're very accomplished and they don't have any resistance. Or it can be modeling someone that they admire, someone who's really successful that they know or that they don't know, and really saying, what would they do in this situation? And how could you step into that comfortably?
That's great advice. And it is totally analyzing and peeling away those layers for sure. It's amazing how many limiting mindsets that we have for ourselves. And one of them, again, being, you touched upon, self-worth and confidence. And I like how you do help people tap into their unique gifts, or some people don't really understand their full potential and what their capabilities are. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep. That's a big part of what I do. And the other thing that I'll add to that is that a lot of people take them for granted. And so quite often, if we're doing an exercise and we get people to write out their zone of genius, like all their gifts or their things that they're really, really good at, people will overlook very, very obvious things because it's something that comes so easy to them. They take it for granted. We as women are especially guilty of this. And we skip over these really big, obvious things. And so sometimes it takes the challenge of doing that exercise with someone else to and say, hey, well, what about this? You're incredibly organized and you can do everything on time and deliver without any delay. Like that could be something simple that we just take for granted. So if somebody quite often comes to me and they want to start a business, but they don't quite know how or what, but they know they want that freedom of starting their own business or starting something on the side. That's a good place that we usually start, is what is it that you're really good at, that you really enjoy, and what can you do that just sort of passes the time effortlessly? And then we build a business around that.
All these things, it's like, man, I've been there. It's like knowing that I wanted to work from home, and I'm sure so many people out there, same boat, right? And it's like, how can I make this happen? I know I have skills. How can I get this started? And sometimes, I'm thankful for me, it happened and I made it happen, but it can be a huge block.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like this is a bit of a trip down memory lane for you, right? Because you've gone, you've built your business. And so it's nice to be able to look at it from this perspective. But, we often say when you're building a business, build something to solve a problem. Yeah. And the other part of it that I like to add is to facilitate a dream. And so quite often when people have something that they really, really are excited to do or really resonant about, then you can build a business that will help them and, you know, achieve that or take one step closer to that.
Nice. And we were kind of talking earlier how for you, I mean, there's obviously business strategy, marketing, branding, all that good stuff, which is totally important. But I love how you touch upon, you know, growth on like a spiritual level and your mindset, but also business strategy. So how do you kind of explain those different elements to our listeners out there? And how does that, I don't know how to ask this properly or not, but how does that all relate or how are they intertwined when it comes to business?
Yeah, that's a perfect question because it is a bit of a tango between that dichotomy of corporate and yogi. And I really love it because maybe because I'm a Gemini, that sort of natural.
Yeah.
I've always believed that, you know, my path down yoga to really not only do the physical practice, but start to meditate. Really, I noticed it back when I worked in corporate that it made me more patient, made me more calm. It made me less judgmental, and it made me observe, you know, negative behavior in others and also in myself. So the yoga really helped to calm me down. And so I really leverage a lot of yogic principles in terms of the philosophy. So when we think about bringing yoga into business, it's not about answering your emails in tree pose. It's not like sort of,
that would be so cool though.
You absolutely could. I'm not discouraging that, but that's not necessarily where I'm going. What I'm doing is I'm pulling out key principles like Sangha, which is a Sanskrit word for community. And so when I really challenge people to build a business, at the end of the day, you know, our ultimate, you boil down any philosophy, any religion, any sort of belief, they all come down to one principle, which is we are one. We are all connected. And so if you can take for your business and build some sort of community, whether it's with your partners, with your clients, with your customers, whatever that means. And, you know, you're doing such a great job, Lindsay, with this podcast because you're really drawing people to you and letting them feel part of something. And so when we build community or Sangha with our business, we are allowing it to have more of a life of its own and its own ecosystem. And that's what allows you to be more successful. Another element that we pull out is Dharma, which is purpose that we touched upon earlier. And so when you get really clear on what your life purpose is, then you're allowed to stay the course and stay focused on how you're meant to help and serve. Because, you know, I believe very strongly in building conscious businesses, which are purpose-driven and profitable. They're not nonprofit organizations that we're building. We're building businesses that make money, and there's no shame in making money. But you have to build a business with a soul rather than with a sole purpose of making money.
I totally agree. And yeah, even my business coach that I have as well, it's like, you know, don't sell, you're serving, and always looking to that higher purpose. And you obviously have it in your business, that's for sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you see. So this is how we kind of take that lens of yoga and apply it to business. And really, it's about accepting, you know, personal growth as the journey.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. You know, you do have to have your own self-worth. You have to understand yourself. You have to grow in order for your business to grow and deal with all, you know, the fear and the limiting beliefs and all those other things. And if you're not going to grow as a person, you're certainly not going to grow your business, in my view.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, the other quite literal translation with yoga is really that, you know, it's about being flexible and it's about being motion and change. And, you know, we see this with business over the last, you know, I've been in business for 20-ish years, first in corporate and then the last 5 on my own. But, you know, we see things like the lean startup or agile programming technology. So it's, you know, you see all these different ways of building businesses, and it used to be you had to sit down and know what your plan was for the next 3 years. And that just seems completely unthinkable these days. And so I feel like that's a large part of pulling the yogic wisdom in as well, which is accepting that everything's constantly changing. And so you have to be flexible and you have to be dynamic to be able to respond to what the market wants. And you have to be humble enough to say, you know what, I built this and I thought it was brilliant, but guess what? It flopped.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be humble and admit that and go to my community and say, okay, this isn't what you wanted. What do you want? And I obviously didn't do it right, because I feel like being humble is such a big part of being an entrepreneur these days.
Totally. And a lot of people don't talk about that, or they don't let themselves be vulnerable or even human sometimes.
Yeah, and I used to, I always joke that the millennials these days have such a great option to go into entrepreneurship right out of school. And, entrepreneurship wasn't on the menu when I graduated from high school.
Not at all.
And actually, it was a semantic shift, because back then, an entrepreneur to me was someone who had, been in business for 20, 30 years, and then, like in corporate for someone else, and then at age 50 or 60 decided to start their own business. I mean, there had to be that rite of passage that you had all this experience under your belt to go off and start your own business. But these days, I mean, entrepreneurship means something completely different.
Totally. And and being a fellow Canadian, I don't know if you feel this way or not, but I sort of feel like American or the States is a bit more entrepreneurial than Canada is. And I don't know if that's just the way I feel, but do you feel like there's any difference?
Yeah, I do. And, to throw another generalization out there, I've been told this many times, and I've observed it, that they are a little bit more confident in terms of jumping into things. And, like just a little bit more ahead of the curve. So obviously we both have our different, personalities and traits, but, just from a business sense, in terms of technology adoption, in terms of, forward thinking to leverage coaching and other modalities, to be forward thinking in terms of incorporating meditation and mindfulness into business, I would agree that there's a lot of American companies that are a little bit more ahead of us.
Sure.
Yep.
I love that. You don't think business and yoga, kind of the principles being incorporated together, but the more I think about it, the more I love that idea.
Oh, good. So your practice next time you go to the yoga studio, Lindsay, is going to be totally different.
Exactly. So tell me, I should have asked this at the beginning, but tell me about your journey. Like, how did you get from the corporate arena into what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's not a sexy story. I always wish I should have a sexy story.
That's okay. Real stories are the one that count.
Yeah, because I feel like, I didn't have a lemonade stand as a kid. I wasn't playing cars and making thousands of dollars when I was 12. That was completely not my story. I just kind of fell into entrepreneurship as an accident. I really wanted to wrap up in marketing and communications. I'd worked at technology companies for years. And the last company that I was at was in London, in the UK.
Oh, wow.
And our company was purchased by a very large UK-based firm, and they had a very different culture and environment. And I was like, this isn't my thing. So I started to look at, what's my next opportunity? I'd been in five different organizations doing the same thing. And so it was time to find the next opportunity. And the more I looked around, I just had this like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Nothing was really exciting to me. And a friend of mine at the time had just finished her coach training. And I said, that is a very cool job. I just knew in my gut that that's what I wanted to do, because, people had told me over the years, how amazing it was to have a conversation, and they felt better after talking to me. And I had this passion for helping cultures and build businesses in a different way. And so I just kind of leaped right into that. I moved back to Canada. I did my coach training, and then I started a business.
Wow. Well, you know what the important thing is that you followed your intuition, and that you also took the leap of faith and you just did it. Because you could have easily went, I don't know, I want to do that, but I better play it safe and just get a corporate job. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
I think so. I don't think I overthought it at the time. I think felt right, and I did. I just kind of followed those flirts from the universe.
I know. And I sort of feel like entrepreneurs do have a slightly different mindset from those that aren't, in that they do take a leap of faith and they do take more chances. And I don't know, it just feels like we're gutsier, but I might get tons of flack for saying that.
Well, I think you have to be a little bit more prone and acceptable to risk too. because if you have to sit around and wait for someone to prove to you that what you're going to do is going to work, then you'll never get started.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit comfortable with that not knowing and just believing. And, I'd say definitely one of the tools that I administer as a coach is a personality profiling tool. And so we look at that. And that's one of the things that we plot and characterize, which is, how much risk you're willing to take. How you make decisions. And it's similar to the technology adoption curve, right? There's leapers that are only 3% of the population.
Yeah.
And you go to early adopters, early majority, and that's how we make decisions.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you don't have someone who's late majority or a tradition holder that is probably going to ever start a business. I mean, they might want to, but they're going to require so much proof, and they're going to be in their head to analyze.
Oh yeah.
that they're going to, stall themselves.
So what is one of the, your clients, people that come to you, what do you find is a commonality, or what do they struggle with the most?
Oh, that's a good question, because they're all like snowflakes. They all need something different. Some people do need more of the mindset coaching, and other people, we just really level and focus a lot on brand and on finding clients and tactics. Other clients, it's really about, I need a business, a website built, or someone else right now I'm working on helping her to productize what she offers. Because every time she works with someone new, she creates something customized for them. And so we're trying to really get her to focus on specifically having programs rather than wasting her time building something new, because that's just not cost effective for her.
Yeah.
But as far as what I see the most common, I would say, is not being able to manage time. And that's definitely one of my biggest challenges too, right? Because especially when you're a solopreneur, you are responsible for your time management. So, having that time allotted correctly and being able to hold true to that. So time management, and the imposter syndrome is a really, really big one. Self-doubt, all those negative voices in the head that we have to make conscious. We have to be aware of those negative voices, or else if you don't become aware of them, then they keep you stuck. And that's what allows you to procrastinate, because we keep waiting. I joke sometimes about the confidence fairy. We keep waiting around for the confidence fairy to come.
Confidence fairy, that's awesome.
And tap us on the shoulder to give us the confidence to move forward. And that never happens. So you have to be willing to move into something with that little bit of discomfort. And the confidence comes from doing it and actually taking action.
I know. It's like, if you're scared crap, let's just do it anyways.
Yeah.
Because it feels so good when you do it, right? You're like, you feel like you've conquered the world practically.
Absolutely. And, don't try to be perfect, right? It's the paralysis of perfection. Sometimes we want something to be so good, so amazing, so perfect. We just, we're completely stalled. We can't even take that first step because we're paralyzed. If we want it to be so good, we can't even move forward. And so
exactly.
I say the golden rule of entrepreneurship is done is better than perfect.
Yes, I totally agree. If you don't take action, you're never going to change. Things aren't going to get any different or better.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, so what would you, if someone was being an entrepreneur or wanted to be an entrepreneur, or they were starting small, what would be some advice that you would give them, that's from your heart?
Yeah, I would say get really clear on what it is that you are passionate about and what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And quite often I see people know that they want to do something, but they have all these stories around, I really want to do this, but you can't make money at that. Or I really want to do this, but it's, what will my parents think of me? And so just be clear, strip out all the buts, right? And just stay focused on what you actually do want. And if you can get clear on that and get really resonant about it, you then keep your eyes open, because you will get flirts from the universe. You will get signs people coming to you. So you have to keep your eyes open and ready for those. And whatever you can do, put a stake in the ground and do something brave and tell someone or post something on social media. Take that action in the real world, either verbally or with a social media post or telling even a stranger. But saying it out loud and actually verbalizing it really is one of the most powerful things you can do to tell the universe that you are prepared and proud of this vision.
That's a great idea. Yeah, because I don't know what happens, but you can think things till you're blue in the face. But once you start talking about it, I don't know, it makes you feel like you're moving forward and it can become a reality, as weird as that sounds.
No, absolutely. And a lot of times, especially people who are more extroverted, they process thoughts by talking them through with others.
Yeah.
So just that simple act of, oh, this is how it could work. And you're actually, as you're storytelling with people and sharing your vision, you're sort of learning how to pitch your business before your business is even really built. And
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, it has great value because you can watch someone's body language and I can see that, oh, as I said this, your eyes perked up and you really liked that word when I said tribe, you know, and so you're starting at a very grassroots level to really learn how to pitch, how to position your business, how to share your dream and get people to buy in. Because if you keep pitching your idea or your business and people are like, I got to get out of here, and they're trying to leave the room or looking,
or they don't understand what the heck you're talking about. You're like, you do what?
Yeah, a lot of people do try to make it very complicated. And so that's just good practical practice, right?
I remember in a past life when I was like 25 or something, working for a company, and they had this thing and it says, your thoughts become your actions, become your habits, become your destiny. Mm-hmm. And it has always stuck with me. It's like, whatever it is that you think, if you say it enough, and then eventually you'll start doing it and it'll become a habit after so long. And then, you'll create your own self-prophecy in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your tips. That's super helpful. Now, how can people learn about what you do and how you can help them get their business going?
Yeah, so they can, if they want any information, they can head over to my website, which is thecorporateyogi.com. And if they're curious in anything, we talked about today in terms of the personal development path as an entrepreneur, they can check out my podcast. It's available on my website as well. And we also have a special gift lined up for your listeners.
Awesome.
So, yeah, anyone who is interested in getting into meditation or building a regular meditation practice, we have a mini course on meditation. So what they can do is head to my website and then go for, thecorporateyogi.com/smooth sailing, and then they can access that mini course there. And that contains a couple videos explaining what meditation is, why you need to do it, how you can do it. And then there's a little guided meditation with me and a little worksheet as well.
Love that. I will definitely check that out. It's funny you mentioned that because when I was at yoga the other day, I thought, I'm going to come home, and my 7-year-old daughter, Emily, she's like always asking me about yoga and stuff like that. And I thought, it'd be kind of fun just to do a 10-minute meditation with her, and maybe it would calm her down and get her to sleep. Yeah. But it's like, there's so many avenues that it can help you, and why not in your business? If you have a clear head, you can just focus so much better.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest benefit to entrepreneurs is that it helps you to keep perspective, because quite often we wake up and we're anxious of, oh my gosh, I have all these things today. It's like, okay, stay grounded, reconnect, be grateful to what you have, stay focused, and then start your day. And it can really make a difference to, remove the anxiety out of your day if you start your day with some meditation.
Yes, that moment when you crack open the laptop and wonder how many emails you have. So do meditation right before you do that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that great gift. I know I will dive into it, and I'll have the links on my show notes and all that good stuff. So yeah, thank you again for being on my show, Julie. I'll have to have you back another time.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. So folks, that is today's episode of the Sailing to Success podcast. You, of course, can go to lindsayphillips.com for this and other podcast episodes and videos and blogs. And if you want to learn more about how my team and I can help your business grow, you can go to ssonlinesupport.com. So have an awesome week, guys. I wish you a productive and profitable week, and may the winds, of course, always be at your back.
You've been listening to the Sailing to Success podcast, the show created exclusively for entrepreneurs and small business owners looking for a safe port in the storm of fast-paced business growth. To make sure you don't miss a single profit-boosting show, subscribe to this podcast at iTunes and www.sailingtosuccesspodcast.com. To learn more about how Lindsay and her team can help you increase customer service, run your business more effectively, and increase your profits, go to www.ssonlinesupport.com. That's www.ssonlinesupport.com. Now go and implement what you've learned and come back next week for more Sailing to Success podcasts.